BBC presenter battle rambles on and on, of course. People in the media get very excited by making sure they can slice one of their own. No compassion there. But also we find out with other channels that they're simply not as kind as they purport to be. As we've told you before, a major commercial channel over here, ITV, ran for many months this Be Kind and It's Good to Talk, featuring all of their stars apparently giving up time just to have that moment with someone to make sure they didn't feel lonely, lost, depressed. And of course, it was all about mental illness, don't mock people, try and be a better person, that sort of thing. In fact, they ran the campaign for so many months. And then, of course, ITV recently been embroiled in a terrible scandal with one of their major stars of a daytime TV programme this morning, Philip Schofield. Terrible situation, still ongoing as one can imagine. But of course, it doesn't stop the brand, the so-called Be Kind channel, being unkind to His Majesty the King and indeed the President of the United States, President Biden, over here recently for a meet and greet out at Windsor Castle, taking tea to discuss climate change. Now, on the programme Good Morning Britain, which is hosted by Ed Balls, an MP formerly, who's now decided to cross sides and become a television personality, all by doing Gangnam Style on Strictly Come Dancing and various other misdemeanors, well, he's now one of the main hosts, alongside Susanna Reid. Two guest commentators were also present, and it was one of the commentators that really was very, very unkind, particularly if you are a viewer aged over 55. And the reason why I mention that is the programme's remit really is that's the age group watching that particular channel. So you can see how this is going to pan out. They were focusing on the recent visit of President Biden to Windsor, and they pointed out certain things that we've mentioned here on the show. Just little mishaps, how, of course, he wasn't invited to touch His Majesty the King, broke royal protocol. Charles wasn't bothered about that. It's a modern era. You don't have to be that deferential. But it's always nice to show manners and courtesy, is it not? But what was really interesting was this particular commentator then decided to say live on air about how these two doddery old people looked like they were propping each other up and giggling away and mocking them simply because they are of a certain age. Now, what's interesting here is, as I say, the channel themselves are purporting to be all about being kind, and then guffaws all round until finally the hostess of the programme, the £1 million a year Susanna Reid, we've told you about her many times, she decided to interject and say, don't be ageist. Took her some time though, let me point out. And when you think about that, not only are they mocking two of the most famous people in the world, two world leaders if you like, His Majesty the King, King Charles III, and the current President of the United States, Biden, well, isn't it a little unkind to do that on national television? Nobody reprimanded them after that particular segment either. They simply were allowed to say it and go off. The reason why I highlight this is it's exactly the problem. The person who started this was none other than a Labour activist. And let's not forget, Ed Balls is a former Labour minister. Now, I'm not getting political here, but it does seem to come always from that side of the party. And it's fascinating to note, isn't it, that they allow someone with such a leaning to host a programme on a daily basis. But I'd love to know as ever what you think. Do you find being a certain age, over say 50 or even 40, that you're victimised and mocked and laughed at? And it seems to be the dumb thing. Let me just add a footnote also, in order to show that his vitality, this particular commentator, Kevin Maguire, then pointed out that, he actually walks over 10 miles a day to try and keep fit. Once again, mocking those that simply perhaps are not able to get out and about as much. I refer finally back also to ITV's Be Kind mantra. How kind are they actually being to people their age group who are watching their show, rely on the viewers to fund the lifestyle and of course the mega money of the likes of Susanna Reid of £1 million a year? It certainly makes you think about switching off, does it not? Neil Sean in the very heart of London.